Let's go to former acting director of ICE, John Sandwyk, who's been sticking around for us. John, thanks for being here. I wonder what you think of Markwayne Mullin. And before I ask you that question, we don't have this loaded yet, but I'll read what he said in regards to, we've been talking a lot about how Kristi Noem reacted to Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Mullin reacted to Preddy like this, and it appears that this was much later in the day. A deranged individual who came in to cause massive damage with a loaded pistol was shot and killed. How much more does it have to go on before the Democrat leaders take responsibility for their words? So what's your reaction to Mullin being put into the position potentially to lead DHS?
Okay, I didn't know he had tweeted that. That's unfortunate. I would hope for a more.
No, he said it to Fox. He said it to Fox. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. I wish, you'd hope for a more measured response, similar to the one like you were talking about earlier that Tom Homan gave. Ultimately, I think because of the politics of it, he'll probably get a pass on that. It's similar in many ways to Kristi Noem in the sense that he doesn't come from a border state. He doesn't have that immigration enforcement experience. But I'll tell you, Katie, I think in many ways I see this two things quickly. One is I think Noem is always going to be defined by Minneapolis, not just a response to Preddy and Good, but also in the design of the operation. Right? This is exactly as Senator Tillis said, the emphasis on the quantity over the quality, roving patrols and aggressive confrontations with protesters and deployment of Border Patrol agents and putting them in charge in urban environments. All of that is going to be her legacy. My hope here is that this resolves the question, right? After Tom Homan was deployed to Minneapolis, we saw a radical change in the tactic, going back to that more traditional targeted approach, less disruptive, hopefully more focused on actual criminal aliens and not on, individuals who are just been here a long time and have used as family members. But it's going to be interesting to see to me whether, I do think Secretary Noem's departure makes a big difference. And I hope it ends that debate of whether we want to have more Minneapolises or more of the traditional immigration enforcement.
Yeah, my colleague Jacob Soboroff, who's been covering immigration for so long, he's got laryngitis, so he can't join us. He has no voice. But he put this out on social media regarding the replacement of Noem with Mullin. He compared it to, or just cautioned that last time that this happened, when Donald Trump replaced Kirstjen Nielsen after the family separation disaster in 2019 and all of the bad headlines and the horror from the American public, rightly so. He put in Kevin McAleenan, then Chad Wolf, and Jacob notes that both of whom were involved in that policy, in the child separation policy, which has been deemed torture by outside groups. So I guess how much should we expect the culture to change at DHS? After all, it is still the same president, the same top immigration advisor, Stephen Miller.
Yeah, listen, as Laura reported a minute ago that the president liked the operations. I think the president probably did like the operations until it went south, right? But I will tell you this, Katie, when Tom Homan got on the scene in Minneapolis, he was not shy about saying he was not happy with the way things had gone, right? I mean, he was a little more political than that, but you heard him say again and again that mistakes were made, right? That we're going to do it smarter. We're going to go target it. There was the sense I get, and from talking to people as well, there was a divide at DHS over the Noem/Border Patrol Bovino type approach, surge operations, very, very public displays of force, right? That really wasn't about the quality. And you heard Senator Tillis go, his rant about that, right? Not about the quality of who they're grabbing, but the quantity, and about demonstrating their presence. That was not a uniform administration position. Holman was opposed to that. Various reporting says that the CBP commissioner was opposed to that, right? There was a lot of tension about this, including at ICE. So I am actually slightly optimistic here that the elimination of Secretary Noem is going to see, hopefully, an end to that style of operation, right? That we're not going to see another Minneapolis, another Chicago. Of course, time will tell, and we'll see. Maybe Senator Mullin, adopts the same types of tactics. But I am more optimistic that a lot of the design and how this mass deportation was being conducted, everything that was so disturbing to see in Minneapolis, hopefully we've seen the end of that with the end of Secretary Noem.
We will see. Again, we're still waiting to find out when she was alerted to this news. The writing has been on the wall. Laura said that. Jake said that. Vaughn has said that. Anybody who's been watching, I think it's been relatively clear that she was on the outs. She had to go to the White House, remember, in the aftermath of Minneapolis with Corey Lewandowski and basically pitch herself to the president so he didn't fire her. But I do wonder at what point she knew this was actually a done deal. I think I'm getting a piece of paper. Let me read this. What is this about? This is about This is from Kristi Noem. She has just posted on social media. Thank you, POTUS, for appointing me as the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Secretary Rubio and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, are incredible leaders, and I look forward to working with them closely to dismantle cartels that have poured drugs into our nation and killed our children and grandchildren. The Western Hemisphere is absolutely critical for U.S. security. In this new role, I will be able to build on the partnerships and national security expertise I forged over the last 13 months as Secretary of Homeland Security. She goes on, but she knows. She knows. It's out there. She knows. Okay, we're going to take a very quick break. John, thanks for joining us. Everyone else, thanks for joining us. We're going to continue talking about this